clear advantage to law firms using cloud-based computing is that they don't need to own and operate the technology. And this applies to all types of organizations, not just law firms. So there are a lot of hidden costs with regards to technology. If you bring technology in-house, what do you need to do? You need to pay for the software. That software needs to run on hardware, which needs to be maintained. So you might need an IT staff, or maybe you need to outsource that role and they need to come in and do regular maintenance. Then you get server downtime, you get server outages, you need to train your staff on how to use the technology and so on. Granted, you also need to train your staff if you put data in the cloud, but if it's in the cloud, it's always on. It's 24/7, anytime, any place. You don't really hear of, oh, Amazon needs to reboot your server. Because what's going on in the background with proper cloud-based solution providers is that they're using virtual machines. So not only are they able to scale up really quickly, but they can also have greater redundancy so that there is practically no downtime whatsoever. And it's all one single cost. Other hidden costs are obviously, you need to, like I said earlier, train your staff, but you may have challenges retaining that trained staff. One key member of staff in IT, for example, you may train them up to use that system and then they go away and all that knowledge is gone. If you put it with a cloud-based service provider, it is their role to maintain the system for you. Obviously, you don't need to pay for utilities, you don't need to buy a server rack, and maybe you need to upgrade your switch, possibly bring in fiber optic networks. So there are a lot of hidden costs with bringing technology in-house. Well, first of all, no organization is going to put all their data in the cloud. That just does not make any sense. You want to adopt cloud, bring it into your infrastructure, and put some of your data there. I know some organizations, what they do is they host everything in-house, but they back everything up to the cloud. I know other organizations that put everything into the cloud, but then they back up to another cloud. Or sometimes they back up to local hard drives, which they then keep in a fireproof safe. So the idea that cloud is going to take over everything and every single piece of document is going to reside there is just fanciful, in my opinion, at least. But what would actually happen if your service provider goes bust? Well, really, you need to do your due diligence when you read your terms and conditions. So you need to have those clauses within, within your hosting agreement, or within your service level agreement, that if the data becomes unavailable for whatever reason, that you're able to retrieve that information at no cost. So you have an easy migration path. I think one concern with putting data in the cloud is that it's very hard to get it out. It's very easy to put it in, but very hard to get it out because you've got so many different platforms and standards. So you have to make sure that you're able to migrate out of a certain platform into another. So we've actually been able to receive information from other service providers. They provide us with a load file, for example. We put that into our platform. We've had to create load files to put into other platforms to migrate data in the e-discovery space. But if you're just talking about what happens if your service provider goes bust, yes, having redundancy in place, disaster recovery, whatever you want to call it, is really, really important. So for example, having backups on a regular basis, very, very important. And frankly, there's no reason why you shouldn't do this. The cost of storage is negligible these days. You can buy a 1 terabyte hard drive for $50 US. And 1 gigabyte can store 20,000 pages. So you do the maths. How much data you can store on a terabyte drive. It really does not cost that much. So it's very important that you read, just to recap, that you read the T&Cs of your contract with your service provider, and then that you have a plan in place that if disaster strikes, for whatever reason, maybe they haven't gone bankrupt, maybe there's a flood, for example, and that you have a proper backup in place that you can restore all your data and you can be up and running pretty soon after.